And Christina, take it away. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Hi. So, like you said, I'm Christina. I'm pretty new, like 6 months in, 7 months, I guess. But yeah, my friend over at KW, I was telling her how I'm having, some trouble getting my client's offer accepted because he's in the 200,000 range. It's just getting swept up by cash offers, short closes. And she asked if I heard about Homeward. So Homeward, like you're going towards home, right? So it's this company that kind of turns your offers into a cash offer. And they have two different programs. They have the buy with cash, which is for someone like my client who doesn't have a home to sell. And then they have buy before you sell. And that's where they will purchase the new home for your client with cash and then rent it back to them while they get their old home ready to list. So like my clients, they're both teachers. They have a 2-year-old. They're like, we don't have time to get our home ready to list, but all these great houses are coming and going, and we want to jump in the market before prices continue to raise and rates continue to raise. So we want to jump on it. And so this is like the perfect thing for them, right? So they can move into this new house. The fees are, right? That's what we're all wondering. The fees are, they are going to pay rent. They said it's about $2,000 a month for a $300,000 house, but $2,000 a month, if your cash offer gets accepted, that's better than having to go 10, 15, 20K over for a financing offer to get accepted. So they think that's worth it. And then if you go through their mortgage company, it's 1.4%, which can be paid using the equity once you sell your old home, or it can be rolled into your mortgage rate. If you don't use their mortgage company, it's 1.9%. Which again can be rolled into your mortgage fees and everything like that. So it's a really great option for this tough market. I know, like I said, that client of mine that's in that 200,000 range, we're definitely going to look into this. That way, for the cash ones, it's a 14-day close, cash offer, no contingencies. If our buyer walks, Homeward keeps the house and then they just sell it on their own. So nothing lost. And then the buy before you sell, it's a 21-day close with a 6-day option period. So still, better than having that contingency on if your home has to sell first, and 30 days plus for a closing. So it's going to help make these offers more competitive. But yeah, that's kind of the overview. I also love that they have Canva templates for marketing. They have these little things you can customize. I just printed and laminated them, put our logo, put my name down here. So I'm going to go over this with my clients in the next couple days that are interested. And they also go up to a $3 million price point. So my clients that are looking in the Dominion, I talked to them about it as well. So they can come in with a cash offer and it looks stronger. So yeah, it's the basics of it.
Okay.
Hey, I just did a deal with them.
Okay.
So my Austin listing, which we sold for $619,000, the buyer was Homeward. So it's exactly what you just said. Our buyer, basically Homeward bought the house with cash, 21-day close, and then they rent it to the buyer while the buyer sells their house. So that second scenario. I almost did a deal with them on another Austin listing. They're really big in Austin because Tim Heil, I don't know if you guys know who Tim Heil is, Heyl. Tim Heil, when I started at KW and I started my career, was the boy on the KW magazine. Was like 25 then. And he was a mega agent with Keller Williams in Austin. Huge agent. Tim Heil opened his branch down here in San Antonio at KW City View, and Jason Harrigan, the young man that just passed away to COVID, I think that Cedric's friend, I forget how you say his name. Jason ran his team. Tim Heil left KW, has his own, he's got a big brokerage going in Austin and Atlanta, and he created Homeward, and he's the CEO, and that's really where his business is now. The first Homeward deal I did on the Round Rock home, we started off with a buyer. It wasn't good. I found out later, was the agent. The agent hadn't gotten his client qualified through Homeward the way he should have. And I swore I'd never use them again. And then in Austin, this last one, which we closed January, I think it was 19th, it was a great experience. Unbelievable experience. They do the appraisal during the option period. So no option, you're pending, and there's no appraisal to worry about. And they do their own appraisal, basically. So anyway, I had a good experience, and I've never used it with a buyer, but I have been, I have been the listing agent and dealt with them. The title company was amazing, super communicative, and they closed like spot on time. So it was a good experience.
Awesome. Hey, Christina, can you do us a favor? Can you maybe get the website and just like some bullet things that you can maybe post in the productive agents? Well, yeah, and that. Thanks for sharing that. But if you could just like do a small little write up and a post in productive agents, so everybody could find that there. Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
And
Thank you so much.
One last thing to that. The buyer agent was with Austin Realty. I think the version here is SA Realty.
Yeah.
She said that they do a lot of business with Homeward. Not like she thought they had a special relationship, but they don't. So
Cool.
anyway,
Cool.
next topic.
Yeah, awesome. Well, very good. Everybody, thanks for being here. This is our largest group so far, and thank you for showing up. Again, we do this every Thursday at 2 p.m. I'm committed to doing that this year, and it's a place for us. I built this group back in July, and talking with Mark Chambers, Cedric DeQuinn, and Alan Grulett. I almost said Alan Sharps. That's funny. But the idea was I had 8 agents at the time, and we were spread out across the state. So I wanted to help them and educate them and get them going with their business. So I started that, and then it's grown into, I think, over 80 people in the Productive Agents group, which is super exciting. And we welcome everybody, right? Even if they're not from EXP, invite them to the group. We want to share, obviously, if they're interested in talking about EXP and you're the connection that brought them here, open up that conversation, right? So we use this as an education tool and then a recruiting tool, all right? So if they're interested, get on that. And if you need help with that, let us know. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and get into our topic today. Okay, everybody see I didn't change the picture, my bad. But we're trying to get from lead to contract as fast as possible. That's why the motorcycle's there, all right? But before we get going, I do want to share this YouTube thing. So I started this journey back on January 10th. And I was waking up at 6 a.m. and doing my savers from Miracle Morning. And today is day 25 in a row. And about 3 days in, I started waking up at 5 a.m. And I listen to these motivation things when I get out of the shower, while I'm brushing my teeth, doing my hair, getting dressed. I want us to watch this first 3 minutes of this one because I think it's pretty impactful.
Today, I need you to embrace what comes hard. Today, I need you to accept the challenge. Today, I need you to fall in love with the process. There will be plenty of opportunities to get discouraged, to lose your passion, and think that it's not meant to be. But if you're going to reach your destiny, you have to have a made-up mind. If you give up after the first time, or the 5th time, or the 30th time, what that really means is you didn't want it bad enough. There should be something you're believing for, that you are relentless. You are not moved by how impossible it looks. You're not discouraged by how long it's taking. You don't give up because people told you no. Your attitude is, if I have to believe my whole life, I am not going to stop believing. I am not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to settle for mediocrity. I'm going to keep pursuing what put in my heart.
And ask yourself, what do I really want? What do I really want? And write it down. Writing causes thinking. Thinking creates an image. And you get these images going, you're building a vision in your mind. It's the visionaries that's changed the world. Think of that.
But what keeps that competitive edge, what keeps you on top, is the ability to think and prepare mentally over and over and over again. The body has limitations, the mind does not. We focus so much on what goes on from the neck down that we forget it all starts from here.
Everything starts from it. If you're not mentally ready, you're never really physically prepared. And that's where the preparation starts.
What would your life be like as you look toward the future if you decided, I'm not going to allow my fears to stop me? And I'm saying to you, whatever you got to do it, because if you don't, life is going to whoop you until you surrender. So when you're young and you make mistakes, don't let them eat you up, because everybody that done made it. You got to fail in order to win. Hey, look, man, to understand how to hit the game-winning shot, you got to miss the game-winning shot. You know, you got to be tough, because the road to success is always under construction. It's never a clear path to success. The people who become successful are the people who have a relentless attitude. And you just got to hang in there through the bad breaks, because the bad breaks is coming, but they usually come right before the big break is about to happen. You get a series of bad breaks and it stumbles up a lot of people. My life and my success is to say to anyone, you can stumble, you can fall, you can get back up again.
So yeah, I wanted to start with that. And again, I listen to one or two of those every single morning to get my mind right. You know, we've talked about that before, and that's not what it's about, but it's really helped prepare me for my workday and lead me to the success that I've had so far and I'm going to have in the future. So I think that's really, really important. Do any of y'all listen to something like that on a daily basis?
I do. I usually do some sort of reading, or in my case, audiobook.
Yeah.
Self-help in some way, either related to business or just personal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's really important. And I know that I'm sure some of you are annoyed because I send you stuff all the time, almost on a daily basis. And I'll try to cut back on that a little bit because most of y'all don't respond, but it's all good. I still love you anyway.
No, don't cut back.
But I also wonder, I'm like, are they really watching this? Are they really taking their 10 to 15 minutes to listen to it? I don't watch it. All right. I literally have it plugged into my ear and I'm listening to it because I am a big believer in, like, you got to feed your brain positivity. I know, at least for myself, if I'm not feeding myself positively, my mind tends to go negative into all the shit that I got to do and all the, oh God, what's coming up, or stress, you know? So just having that in my head, I think is a really important start to the day. And any training that you'll ever go to in real estate, they talk about mindset, like first thing. And we've talked about it, but it's true. So keep that up. And if you're not doing that, step up. This is a book that I'm reading. I'm almost done with it. List to Last, Ricky Carruth. Has anybody read this one? No? Okay. That one is really, really good. I just finished another book. I got into reading not that long ago, pretty much when I started real estate. And I commit 30 minutes a day to reading because for me personally, I just enjoy getting what I get out of it. And it helps me with stuff that I want to talk about and teach on here as well. So let's get going. What we should already know, we're not going to talk about these things because we've already talked about these things before, but we should know how to generate business and where we can get business, right? We should know how to stay in touch with our sphere, all right? And we should already know how to market to our sphere. Now, if you don't know those things, go to the Facebook Productive Agents group, go to the videos, go back all the way to the first video, and I need to go sort those, so I'll do that hopefully by this weekend. But you can start there, and there's tons of videos already up. I think we're up to like 19 videos so far. So there's specific things of like how to host an open house, how to generate business, where to get business, etc. But today's topic is what to do with a new lead. All right, now that we've generated some business, some of those people are raising their hand and saying, hey, I'm interested in buying. Hey, I'm interested in selling. And those are the people that need to go onto your hot warm list. All right. And then what to do with them, right? How do we set the appointment? How do we get them to go under contract, right? Moving them through the pipeline is what we call that. We have some incredible agents with more experience than I have here. So anybody, whether you're 6 months in, brand new, or been here for years in real estate, please at any time feel free to unmute and speak up and say, hey, this is what I've experienced. Hey, this is something to think about. I do not know it all. That's why I do read every day, to learn and to figure out this business as best as I can and grow. All right. So please feel free to interject at any time. Speaking of, every lead is unique, right? So I want to do a quick view of, I wish this thing would go away. That top bar is so annoying. There's my hot warm list. You've seen this time and time again, right? And I've tweaked it a little bit, right? So on the left here is my team, all right? Hot and warm leads. So when we're communicating with people and somebody raises their hand, quote unquote, raises their hand, says, hey, Tony, I'm thinking about buying. Boom, that person goes either on my hot list or my warm list, right? Of course, I respond to them, say, hey, thanks for reaching out. Can you grab coffee this tomorrow at this time to meet up and let's discuss, what you're thinking about, right? So we'll go into that in a little bit, but I think it's really important that you have a list of hot, warm. And if your list is nobody on it, right, then you have to go back to number one part of your job is to generate more business, right? What can you do to get somebody on the hot, warm list? But then you go on your hot, warm list, and we won't talk about this today because we talked about it before, but you just kind of update it. So I, always moving things around. I've made the yellows. These are pretty much the like really hot people that are actively doing stuff right now. In fact, she just went under contract, so that's great. Right, so I'm gonna need to update that. And then these are pretty hot. And then these are, hey, they've mentioned it, but nowhere near it right now, right? So anyways, just wanted to point that out. Go back to here. Every lead is unique, all right? Ricky talks about this in his book. I listen to his podcast. He has great information. I highly recommend you listen and read his stuff. But number one, don't be a salesperson, all right? I don't believe we're in sales. We need to be an agent who wants to get to know their client, right? That's paraphrased from one of his chapters in there. But I never feel like I'm a salesperson. I'm not trying to convince anybody like, hey, you need to buy this house. Hey, you need to sell your house. Hey, now I will update them with the market trends and hey, what's going on. It is a good time to buy if you're interested. It is a good time to sell if you're interested, right? But I'm never pushy. I'm never pressing, right? I kind of came up with this, or maybe I heard it somewhere. I don't want to help you buy this house. I want to help you buy and sell every property for the rest of your life, right? So I went to a listing appointment last night. I'm going to get that listing. I have no doubt, right? Of course, it's nice that it was a referral, but it was just getting to know her. I mean, I spent an hour, which is about right for a listing appointment, talking about her house, checking it out, giving her recommendations, telling her about pricing and doing all these things. But during that time, I was asking her questions about her two kids. One's at Texas State, one's at A&M, right? So now I know a little bit more personal information about her. Unfortunately, she's divorced, right? And now it's an older house and it needs a bunch of updates. So I'm trying to figure out her story and how I can help her. And instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to sell your house, boom, it's transaction, see you later, right? Not only do I want to sell her house, I want to put her in a rental because that's what she wants to do. And guess what? She's probably going to contact me in a few months and say, you know what? I do want to buy a smaller house. So I'm going to stay in contact with her and then whoever she knows, right? Find out why a client wants to buy or sell is the real secret behind helping them accomplish their goals, right? How do you do this? You just simply ask questions, all right? You find an opportunity and you take in clues of, oh, you have all this stuff spread out, oh, you're doing an estate sale. Oh, okay, when's that happening? And start asking questions, and how they answer leads you to the next question, right? Build lifelong relationships with hundreds of future clients. That is the key to high production, right? So we're just adding people to our database and collecting that. Some quick stories: Jan Jones and Stephanie Carrier. Stephanie Carrier I just picked up yesterday as a new buyer. She's pre-approved, ready to go, starting to look at houses, right? How did I get in contact with Stephanie Carrier? Stephanie Carrier has been teaching at Churchill for 22 some odd years. I've known her pretty well, but I haven't said 2 words to her since I left in 2019. All right. And we weren't even that close. We knew each other pretty well. But Jan Jones follows me on Facebook, and she is friends with Stephanie Carrier. I haven't spoken to Jan Jones in years. She retired a long time ago. And Stephanie was talking to Jan, and Stephanie says, "Oh, I want to buy a house, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what to do." Jan goes, "Well, why don't you talk to Tony and give him a call? He posts all these things on Facebook. Look at all these houses." And she pulled up my Facebook. So, like, I haven't spoken to Jan in probably 10 plus years. She's noticing the things that I'm posting and being active on social media. And she recommended me to Stephanie Carrier. Now I have a new buyer, and that's how that works. Chris Serrano, I'm sitting at Starbucks yesterday, and he walks in, he goes, "Mr. Ruiz?" I'm like, look up, and I'm like, "Hey, Serrano is your last name. I have no idea what your first name is." And, just started a conversation. He's about to graduate college. He has a couple friends that are in real estate, I think at the KW team, so immediately everything that you see or talk to is an opportunity. All right. To me, Chris Serrano is not necessarily buying or selling, but he has friends in real estate. So now all of a sudden, because I'm at EXP, it's an agent attraction opportunity. All right. And Chris is thinking about going into sales when he graduates in June. All right. And he might get his license as well. So there, again, more agent attraction opportunity. Always look at everything as an opportunity. Michael Reynolds, I showed a house right off of my old Hideaway Green Street where I used to live in 09. And I just drove by there to look at my house, and it made me think about Michael Reynolds, who I knew had a house on Hideaway Green. Haven't spoken to him in 3+ years. I just happened to drive by, and guess who was walking on the sidewalk? Michael Reynolds. So I stopped, said hi. It just leads to a conversation. He's thinking about renting, no big deal. I'm going to give him some rental comps. Of course, I'm going to give him some listing comps. This is what you could get your house for, and this is how much you could walk away with. It might entice him to do something, right? But now I've put a good vibe out with Michael Reynolds. Karen Wooster was the client that I met last night, a referral, but I've gotten to know her on a deeper level just from having a conversation with her. Reese Spurlock was a Facebook Marketplace person, all right, and reached out to me from my Facebook Marketplace ad. And now it's looking like we're going to list her house in a month and buy a new house, and just starting conversations and figuring out what they need and what they want and learning more almost every time. This is a funny one. Regina Castro, I went to the doctor, the last one, and we'll move on. But she was drawing my blood. I'm fine. Nothing's good. We're just trying to get a discount on insurance. But she's drawing my blood, and you just strike up a conversation. She walked in and she said, "I'm Regina. I'm doing your blood, blah, blah." Okay, cool. I said, "Are you good at it?" And she laughed, and she's like, "Oh, I'm pretty good. I'm a trainer." So anyways, I told her about my wife working for Quest Diagnostics, and she works from home. She's like, "Oh, I want to work from home." Anyways, I got her phone number. All right. I don't have her email address right now, but I sent her information about my wife's job. So now all of a sudden I have a name and I have a phone number. And guess what? I'm going to reach out to her probably today or tomorrow. Say, "Hey, by the way, do you know anybody looking to buy or sell real estate?" And I'm going to stay in touch with her. Hopefully I'm going to get her email so she can get on my weekly emails. And who knows what that turns into. But again, it's a possibility and an opportunity, right? It all starts with a conversation. Literally just say, "Hey, how are you doing?" Make eye contact, "Hey, good morning. How are you?" Whatever it is. And then it leads to something, and it just sparks a conversation. I'm going to take a breather because I'm talking really fast because I want to get through everything in a timely manner. Do we have any questions, any comments, any thoughts so far? It's because I'm such a great teacher. Everybody's like, "Yep, sounds great." Okay. So next question is, what do I ask? What do I say after I've said all that? This is what I jotted down, and it's easy to remember. Most of us have heard this at some point or another in our English class: who, what, when, where, how, why. All right. And, there's buyer's scripts and all these scripts to remember. And I never got into that because, again, just have a natural conversation. Like if you were talking to Charles Agueros and like, "Hey, man, how are you doing?" Okay, cool. Like, I'm not going to bust into my buyer script and see if he's ready to buy. Right. I'm just having a conversation. Then when he says he's thinking about buying, Like, okay, great, cool. These are the type of questions. Well, I know who you are, obviously, right? Who's kind of a given. But you do need their legal name, but you don't even necessarily need to know that right away until you're writing up a contract, right? What, like, hey, I'm thinking about buying. Okay, cool. What do you want? You want a 3-bed, 2-bath. You want something on a 1 acre or bigger. You want to live downtown. Whatever it is, ask them what their dream house is, what they're thinking. All right. Make note of it, jot it down. This is a super important one right here because this is going to tell you if they're hot or warm or just lukewarm. All right. When? Are you currently leasing right now? Okay, great. Well, when is your lease up? Oh, you just renewed your lease. Oh, great. Cool. Now I got to wait a year. But you know what? I always follow that up with, would you be willing to break that lease and get out early if we found you the perfect house? Guess what they say 99% of the time? Yeah, I think we can do that. All right. Or, hey, we want to sell this house, whatever the timeline is, find it out. Where do they want to go? I want this dream house and it needs to be inside 1604. It needs to be in the north central or northwest, wherever. And I break it up and kind of show them that. That's another topic for a buyer's consultation. We won't go into that today. How are we going to do this? Right? Oh, I just came across, I inherited a lot of money, $200,000 for a down payment. Okay, great. Let's do it. Right? Oh, I need financing. Well, have you spoken to anybody about financing? No. Great. I have 3 or 4 different loan officers that I can point you to. And then the why, you just start asking them questions and you kind of figure out through here. Most of the time you understand why they want to do that. So I don't necessarily ask this because it pretty much is answered in all the other stuff, right? So that's kind of a good guide to, figure out where does this lead that this is a person that raised their hand and said, hey, I'm interested, I'm highly interested, or I'm thinking about it. Where do they go? Now, once you kind of know this stuff, you've maybe done a buyer's consultation, you want to set the appointment. All right. And again, don't be pushy, but be persistent and relentless in the kindest of ways. Right. I try to meet them as soon as possible. For instance, I talked to Stephanie Carrier on Monday. She texted me out of the blue. And of course, I immediately responded and said, hey, great to hear from you. When are you free to grab some coffee and catch up? She said, Wednesday sounds great. So we set an appointment for Wednesday. Well, that was an easy one, right? Reese Spurlock, she's responding to me. Facebook Marketplace. I haven't met her in person. I have her set up on a search because she told me what she wants. All right. I have already sent her a CMA and comps for her house, which I know is in Lavernia. All right. And, I've given her all the information so far. I said, hey, I need to come out and take a look at your house. When is a great time for you to do that? She's been pushing it back a week. That's okay. Cool. I'll follow up with you next week. Now she's telling me early March. Right. So I don't take that and get discouraged about it. It's my job to make sure that I don't let her off the hook. Right. She's on the hook. I mean, I've given her information. As long as I do my job of staying in touch with her, she is going to sell and buy with me and do 2 transactions. Right. And then I'm going to take great care of her and she's going to refer me even more business. But it's my job. Now, if I let that fish get away, let that deal get away, that's my fault. All right. Or as long as I did everything in my power, all right, to stay in contact with her, then it's good. So she tells me, I might take a week off. All right. And I think she told me that on Tuesday of this week. All right. So I might not touch base with her next week, maybe at the end of the week. Hey, hope you're doing well. Just something simple like that. Let me know if you need anything. All right. So I'm staying in touch with her weekly. All right. Maybe every other week, just depending on what that is. But I'm trying to set that appointment. The appointments that we're talking about are like you want to do a buyer's consultation or a listing appointment, right? Most of my buyer's consultations depends on the lead. My very first closing was a Facebook Marketplace lead, and I literally met him at the house, that he was interested in. I wasn't going to miss that opportunity. He wanted to see a house. If you're a new agent and somebody says, hey, I want to see a house, you pretty much drop everything and go right then and there and go, what time do you want me there? Right? You don't go, well, are you pre-qualified? Well, are you blah, 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 blah. You know, you don't go into the whole spiel. If you have somebody say, hey, I want to go see this house, sure thing, I'm available today at 5 o'clock or tomorrow at 4 o'clock. You know, set that appointment, go meet them. Even if they're not pre-qualified, find out what the heck they are doing. Get face to face with somebody. Sometimes they're just starting the process and want to know more, so I'll meet them at Starbucks, right? But pretty much right after that, I know what they're looking for and where they want. Set them up on a search, and hopefully that triggers them to liking a property, right? And then going to set up a showing, right? The listing appointment, you know, usually it's at their house unless they feel uncomfortable or you feel uncomfortable going to their house. You might want to meet at Starbucks in a public place, all right, before you go into some stranger's house. Obviously, if you know this person or if they're a referral or something like that, you know, I just meet them at their house. You're going to have to decide what you want to do and what you feel comfortable with. We have any questions or comments so far? All this making sense?
Yes.
Cool. Do we have a question? Cool.
Hey, Tony, can you elaborate? I know you kind of spoke a little bit about how you send follow-up texts. Hey, hope all is well, you know, blah, blah, blah. Can you elaborate a little bit about exactly how you make those texts valuable and not just redundant? Like you say, you have, you know, this lady pushing to March. I kind of have the same situation on about 5 people. So how do I make it to where I'm not overbearing, but I'm still keeping in touch?
Yeah. So I've already provided her with a search, and I've updated that search. So that was kind of step one of like what she's looking for, right? And then I know she needs to sell. So I've given her, you know, a CMA. And so obviously that's providing value. That was like week 1, week 2. From there, I pretty much follow up and just say, hey, you know, really like to get out and look at your house. You know, I need to see the condition of it, you know, and see what, you know, what it's valued at and see if we need to make any adjustments. And she's totally open to that. And her husband, I guess, works out of town. I don't know the whole story yet, right? I'm still getting to know her. But she's like, well, my husband should be in town Wednesday or Thursday. I'll get back to you. Okay, cool. You know, so I check back like Wednesday morning. Hey, are y'all available to meet? Love to meet you guys, you know, whatever. And at least start the conversation. Right now, she told me, you know, hey, we love everything you're doing for us. We're getting the house ready to sell. I guess they need to do some cleaning or some preparation. So I said, sounds great. Let me know if you need any help. I have contractors that I can ask to go take a look at and give you quotes for anything that you want to do. By the way, it's probably best for me to come take a look at and talk about what you're thinking about doing to the house before you go spend money and you're not going to get all the money back in the renovation you're doing. Right. So you got to get a little creative. And honestly, I wasn't creative when I first started. And as you learn more and as you get more experience, you go, what else can I say or, you know, dangle in front of them to get them hooked and interested in meeting with me. So hopefully that helps a little bit, but good question.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Cool. Showing properties. All right. Nobody, we're not going to go too deep into this, but you got to book the showing. All right. So we know what they want. We know what area they're going to be in. We're going to set up the search. I always do MLS searches, automated. And I tell them up front, I say, hey, look, this is an automated search. I set it for 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. And you're going to get pretty much 2 emails at least from me every day with new properties. This is how it works. Explain that. I also tell them, I say, look, on that, there's going to be a green, yellow, and red button, all right, below the picture. If you see something you like, just hit the green button and it will automatically notify me via email that you like the property. I'll reach out to you so that we can set up a showing, right? Just give real specific instructions as how to handle that. Some people hear that and they still go, send me addresses. Oh, this one I really like. Oh, this one I really like. And it's like, then I have to look up that shit one by one. Like, just hit the green button. It'll formulate the list for us. I can go into the MLS and pull it and ready go. All right. So some people are really good with that. Some people aren't, but I try to guide them in the direction that I want them to go. Right. Pull up, arrive early if you can. All right. Unlock all doors and turn on all lights. All right. You want it to show as best as possible. Open up doors, make it nice and neat. And then I take mental notes. Like, so I'm walking through the house. I'm like, okay, here's the master bath. Okay, cool. Has updated this and that, so that I can kind of chime in with that. Early on, I would just kind of open it up and turn on the lights and say, go ahead and walk around. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. So you just kind of have to feel out the client. Like, sometimes they like to be guided. Sometimes they wander off on their own. And you just have to let them do what they do. All right. And just kind of be there. And I have gotten to a point where I point some things out. Oh, this is an overlapping shingles on the roof. This is a newer roof because you can see the ridge vent. It's within the past 8 years or whatever. Certain things that most buyers won't notice, and you pick those things up as you do more and get more experience. Right? Oh, these are newer appliances. Maybe you studied the MLS and the agent notes before you got there. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Just depends on how many showings got lined up. And then, I carry around an iPad with self-service. It's real easy for me to get in and out of that. And show them everything that I need to. I can look up comps as well, pull that up real quick and go, here's everything that's sold in the past 6 months. So that's always nice to give them information right then and there. Some people actually print out the MLS and give them a copy. All right. You can totally do that. I don't typically do that. But if you feel more comfortable with that, cool. As they're wrapping up, you're going to be able to tell if they like it or not, right? I have a new buyer that looked at a couple houses, and sometimes we'll pull up to a neighborhood and I tell them like, hey, you're not going to offend me if you tell me this house is terrible and I don't even want to look at it. It's not my personal house. I don't care. Like, let's not waste our time. If we pull up to a neighborhood or a house and you go, nope, just from driving in, then we'll head to the next, right? Let's just save some time here. And then you'll notice when they walk into the house or a house that they'll go, oh, wow. All right. So now, it's like, okay, can you see yourself living here? What do you like about the house? Okay, cool. Let's talk about price. It's going to be multiple offers more than likely. Are you comfortable with going above the asking price, etc.? All right. So you're just asking questions. What do they like? What do they not like? Especially if you know that if they don't really like it, if they're not going to make a move on it, you want to ask them, well, what do you like about this house? And make mental note. And what don't you like about this house? Right? And make mental note. If you can, try to take notes when you get back to the car before you forget. Right? So like in this, I have a little comments here. All right. So if I get a chance, if I do a showing here, it was with, God, I'm getting my clients confused. I don't even see her on here. Oh, Cassie. All right. So I made some notes. This is what they qualify for, etc. I might make even notes from my showing, right? So, they really liked the big backyard. Big backyard is important to them. So I'd go in here and big backyard is important. All right. So, just some notes myself and then move on to the next, right? Or they really didn't like this. No, whatever it is. All right. So make a quick note so you don't forget as you move on to the next one. Lock up, of course, turn off all the lights unless there's other notes from the agent, and head to the next showing. Show 4 and no more. All right. As far as showings, I do them in 30-minute increments. And if they're in the same neighborhood or same area, back to back. So like a 5, a 5:30, a 6, a 6:30. All right. Now, If they're kind of spread out and we're looking in different areas, then I'll do like a 5:30 for these two, allow some travel time over here to this area. So maybe the next one won't 5:30. Maybe the next one won't start till like 6:15. All right. Because I block off that 30 minutes for a showing, but it usually doesn't take 30 minutes for the showing. So we're usually ahead of time, but that seemed to work for me. Some important apps that I think you need to have on your phone that just make life easier, all right, is obviously you need your Super E key to get into Supras, right? If you don't have that, I'm not sure how you're doing business out there, but make sure you have that. Showing time app. I never call showing time the 222-2227 or whatever it is. I always go to showing time app. All right, super easy to use. I'll show you a quick little video of it in a second. This one is not new to me. Envision Title. This is, I believe, only in San Antonio, but this app, I have a short little video to show you in a second. Does some powerful things. I just paid $9.99 for a year, and it gives you some really powerful tools in there. Open Door, you will run into that from time to time. All right. So you'll need to download that app. The other calculator that I've been using is with Thrive Mortgage. My buddy Eddie Hernandez over at Thrive hooked me up with that. I think everybody can download that. It has a pretty good calculator, but as of today, this Envision Title calculator is pretty legit. I don't use it.
When you say calculator, what are you calculating?
I'll show you here right up here. It's pretty good. So since you asked about that, we'll show this one first.
Well, real quick, before you do that, I want to chime in on the buyer appointments a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a couple, I used to, when I first started, try to have this whole packet ready for everybody with all the properties we were going to go see, really fancy schmancy in a big folder. Would take water, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But what I've actually learned is I don't need to do all that. I just kind of need to know a little bit about the properties. So one thing I do is I'll just pull up each property on the MLS, screenshot the MLS sheet. I usually don't print the MLS sheet out for the client because there's information on there that I don't necessarily want them to know, like who the listing agent is, who the seller is. Occasionally you'll get that client that wants to, take it into their own hands. So you can print client view, but it's just easier for me to have the information myself. And I just screenshot them, save them in my photos. So I have them at every appointment. I pull them up and I refresh my memory on that. So it's a good way to do it. iPad, the same thing. One thing I learned the hard way when I first started, you're all going to think I'm stupid when I tell you this because this is common sense, but don't comment on the home before they do. I've walked into homes that I thought were just the most horrible thing I've ever seen. And I literally have said, oh, wow. Yeah, I'm sure do you guys want to move on? And they loved it. And then there's times where I thought something was great and they hated it. And so I learned very quickly what I like isn't what other people always like. And, my degree of what's clean, they think it's great and it's filthy. So that's one thing, just hold back, let them kind of start to react. Now, to your point of pointing things out, if I've shown somebody quite a few homes and I know that there's this particular issue that keeps tripping them up about a home, or even better, if I've gone under contract and they've backed out, I've had someone do that twice, I look for the issues that they back out for. And if they haven't noticed it, I point it out. Hey, did you notice this hot water heater doesn't have an expansion tank? Oh my God, type thing. That's just a poor example. But so if you know them well and you've done a lot of showings, start looking for what is important to them, both good and bad. But otherwise, just be quiet and let them give you the idea of what they think is going to be great. So just a couple things I wanted to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. Thanks for sharing, man. But exactly, again, don't tell them really anything. And I mean, the obvious stuff. And what Rick would always tell us, he goes, hey, you're not an inspector. Yeah, you're just a real estate agent that says this is the value of the home. All right. You don't need to be pointing out things like, oh, yeah, that's not a problem, or, oh, I think that's a problem. That's the inspector's job. All right. Now you can point out like, oh, it looks like it's a new roof. Oh, the MLS, yes, it confirms that there's a new roof in 2020. Oh, it looks like this. Let me confirm. this is what's included, that's what's not included. The fridge does come with it, etc. All right. So yeah, great points there. Thanks for sharing, man. But on that app, I fell in love with it. Down here, this is what it looks like. For whatever reason, when I recorded these videos on my phone, it didn't record the sound. So I'll kind of talk you through this real quick, as it takes a minute. That's like the only down thing about this app. It takes a minute to kind of upload. But down here is this buyer. So you can type in the home price, the type of loan, the percentage of the down payment. You can adjust all these things. All right. You can throw in the HOA, what's the tax rate, etc. And then you hit this compute, right? And it'll give you an estimated monthly payment and an estimated cash to close. All right, detailed closing cost. I haven't explored this too much. Also, it does the seller. So you put in the sales price, the type of loan that the buyer is, the broker fees. Oh, I thought I showed more of that, but it'll tell you what that is. This is another cool feature. It has all these premium things. Again, it's 99 cents a month or $9.99 for the year. But I came across all of these infographics that I like to post typically on Wednesdays, maybe Fridays. It'll get to the view here. There they are. All right. So just a lot of great content in there. Now, I think they do all of those calculators for San Antonio and the greater area. So they don't necessarily have that for Dallas and stuff like that, but you should still be able to download this and probably use those calculators. So they seem legit. I even checked them with the net sheet that I typically send out to sellers, and it was pretty much matched, almost identical. So highly recommend that. I'm going to be playing around with that. The other thing is showing time. I know a couple agents that don't even have the showing time app. I'm like, what? Like, how do you set things up? But showing time and Google Maps, right? You're bouncing around a neighborhood that maybe you don't know. But when you go to showing time, all right, it'll open up here in a second. All right. And you have a showing, right? So I click on the showing. It's already been confirmed. And down on the bottom, it's view map. Get directions for over doesn't work very well. If you hit view map, like I'm going to in a second, all right, it'll take you directly to Google Maps, and it'll show you exactly where you're at, and it tells you how long it'll take you to get there. So like before I leave for a showing, I go, okay, I need a 30-minute window to drive there. All right, so if I have a showing at 11 a.m., I need to set my alarm for 10:30. And when that alarm goes off, I got to go.
Head south on Rio Salado toward Grande Vista.
And boom, all of a sudden you hit start and you go. So I do this from one showing to the next, and so I don't have to think, and it just tells me exactly where to go. I think that's super beneficial as you're out running around with buyers, right? Any questions about those two apps or videos?
You can also set showing time up. I forgot what it's called. It's a group of showings for one person. What do they call that? A cart? Anyway, I normally do that. I'll set the buyer. I'm going to have 4 showings. You put the properties in, and it'll give you it'll show you on the map the time between each. And you can, as you schedule them, if you're on your computer, you can see how much time you have to travel between each, and you can schedule accordingly and do a little overlay.
So that's through showing time on the computer.
That's on the computer. I've never done that on I do exactly what you just described between showings, showing to showing.
Yeah.
But I set them by going on to showing time and putting all the properties into a showing cart. It's called a showing cart.
Oh.
It'll put all the properties and tell you the distance between each. You can change them around and you can see them on a map. It makes it a lot easier.
That's cool. I need to explore that and take a look at it, because what I do is I go through the MLS. I click the ones that we're going to see and see the map. And then
it's the same thing, but it does it in showing time for you. And then you can just click the appointment. It saves a step.
Yeah. I like that. I'll check it out. Just learn something. Great. Thank you for sharing.
I had a question, not so much about the apps, but back to going back to the showing stuff. Kind of a logistical thing that is probably pretty basic, but as far as like when you're going in, I never know what to do with the keys and the lockbox, especially if multiple agents are allowed to show at the same time. Like I've seen so many different, some people drop the lockbox and then just pass the key. Some people relock it. Like, what is the best appropriate way to handle that? Like, especially with multiple agents showing.
Yeah. I left a showing the other day and there was somebody still in there, and I just put the super lockbox and key like on a bench right next to the door and said, hey, by the way, here's the key right here, we're headed out.
I have some thought on that too.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I hate doing that just because I'm super old school and I don't want to be responsible if something happens.
Right.
If there's that situation, I ask them if they can give me their card. I was like, hey, are you the realtor? I'll give you the key. Do you have a card? If they don't have a card, I usually just explain to them that I'm going to put the key back in the box, just, and they usually understand. So if there's multiple realtors there, that's, which doesn't happen often, I just kind of go with the flow and go, okay, well, I'm leaving, here's the key. But if it's just me and one other, I just ask for their card, or I go ahead and put it back in the box and just explain, hey, I just want to make sure that, I can say I locked it up, They're like, oh, okay.
So you just leave the front door unlocked as you're inside and everything. Like I just got a little nervous that last time when I was showing like an $800,000 house, and like just leaving it unlocked.
Yeah, I mean, if you get there, you can lock the door behind you if you want. If they are allowing multiple showings, I leave the door open, and then I, if they come in, I transfer the key by either putting it back in the box, and asking them to reopen it. So
okay,
just to be safe.
Yeah, that's great. Let's get to kind of the nuts and bolts, and probably one of the most important things about what we're all battling right now is trying to get our offer accepted, right? Submitting an offer. So these are the negotiables, and I don't have this memorized. I'm sure some of y'all do. All right, but I reference the 1 to 4 family contract, which should be right here. Of course, it logged me out. Sign back in. So I just go down this and I do educate my buyers at the buyer's consultation about what this looks like and what terms are negotiable, and how we can strengthen your offer to stand out, which we're going to go over here in a second. And you, but I came up with this list. We'll go over this list real quick. Offer price, obviously. All right. In this market, you're probably going to go in at asking price, if not over. All right. And then the earnest money, explain to them what that is. It's typically 1%, but we might go higher to stand out. All right. We have option money, which used to be $10 a day. That's probably laughable now. All right. And how long the period? It used to be 10 days. When I first started, everything was 10 days. That was 2019. And now it's like, I thought I was doing good by offering 5 days, and now it's like, nope, it's got to be 3 days. And it's like, okay, well, that's what it is. Title policy, usually the seller pays for it. But if you want to strengthen your offer, we can offer to pay for that if your buyer can, right? Whatever their financial situation is. The survey, we'll talk about that. The warranty is negotiable. Closing date can or can't be negotiable depending if you're getting financed. It's probably going to be 30 days. Maybe you have an awesome relationship with your lender that says, hey man, we can do it in 21 days. All right. Hey, that helps you stand out. All right. Hey, we're in a multiple offer. Can you get this quick? Talk to them and have that relationship with a great loan officer, and to see if you can do that to stand out. And possession, when do you take over the house, and closing costs. So we'll just run down that real quick, but we're just going to skip a lot of the stuff, but right here is your offer price, right? We've probably seen this before, but figuring out what that is, running the comps, saying, hey, look, it's listed at 250, but more than likely it's going to go over. How much is it going to go over? I don't know. It could go over 10, 15, 20, maybe more. It just really depends on the price point too. All right. So I think at a higher price point, it typically goes higher gaps, and at the lower price point, it typically goes lower gaps. Of course, the appraisal comes in to question there, right? You don't want to go so far over that it's out of the appraisal. So again, I won't go into all of the great details. And if you're newer and you're writing up an offer, I definitely recommend talking to a mentor of yours and getting help with that. Reaching out to one of us, and for really every single one. I know I did with Mark early on in my career, and he helped me so much, and he still helps me to this day. I'm going, how do you do this? What do you recommend? The earnest money, option money, all right, it's typically 1%. But if you want to stand out, you might want to offer more than that if you can, right? If you have the cash up front, that's going to help you stand out amongst the 20 other offers on this property that you're going after, right? The option money used to be $10 a day now, and it's about 3 to 5 days, right? Probably recommend 3 days if you're competing. So that's $30 a day. You probably want to bump it up to $20 a day, at least $60, maybe up to 100, maybe higher, right? So when we bump these two, we're putting more skin in the game, right? To the seller, and hopefully the smart listing agent, they see that and go, this person's serious about this property, all right? And this is somebody that we should consider because they're putting more on the line here. Title policy used to be always the seller paid for it. That could range $2,500, $3,500, depending on price points, maybe higher. So I tell my buyer that up front. I said, hey, look, this is a possibility that we get into a bidding war, and we're gonna maybe offer to pay for this if you're okay. Now that's on top of your down payment. That's on top of your closing costs. This is an additional $2,500. And then of course, I explain all of this at the buyer's consultation, and it's a lot, all right, to take in. And I go, hey, when we're writing our offer, I'll walk you through every single one of these and go, what do you want to do with this? You can do this or this. And they like that. And then the survey, is the buyer or the seller going to pay for it? Most of the time the survey is there and it conveys, but that's another one, $350 to $500. Are you okay, buyer, to pay for that and strengthen your offer if we need to? Maybe they already have a survey and it's fine. All right. HOA is not negotiable. Seller's disclosure, you either accept it or not. And then right here is the warranty. My warranty person that I use is $525. Seems to be a pretty decent warranty. You could ask the seller to pay for it, which used to be kind of standard, and now probably not so much anymore. All right. Bottom line, if you don't ask them to sell it, the seller is going to have a better net. All right. So it's going to be more attractive to them if this is blank. All right. I explain that to my buyer. We can add it or we don't have to. Closing is really going to be up to you and your lender, unless you're a cash offer. Then you go, hey, we're going to close in 7 to 10 days. That's pretty attractive to a lot of these sellers. That definitely stands out. Possession, most of the time it's upon closing and funding, but talk to the listing agent and say, hey, do they already have a place to live? Do they need a lease back? Do they not need a lease back? What is their situation to help them out as much as possible, right? Closing costs. Again, when I first started in 2019, there was plenty of times that I put in $6,000 here and it got accepted. All right. Now, if you can, don't put anything here. Can your buyer put the down payment and have $6,000 on top, or whatever that closing cost may be, $7,000 depending on price point? Yeah, we have that cash and we're okay spending it. Okay, cool. That's going to make our offer stand out and be better. All right. And then this stuff, that's my overview of that very quickly, of kind of the negotiables and how to stand out, right? I'm sure we can spend the next 30 minutes going deeper and deeper into that. Mark, I'm sure you probably have something that you want to chat about or add.
Yeah. So, when the market is really tough, like it has been lately, There's other things you can do. You can waive the right to terminate due to the appraisal, or you can do a partial waiver. So you really got to kind of dive deep and figure out some things and get with your clients and get with their lender. How much cash do they have to make up the difference if it doesn't appraise? So I've been in a lot of multiple offers, and I feel pretty proud that I've won several, and I've come in second in most. And it's by educating my client as quickly as I can. And sometimes it takes them losing a property or two before they figure it out, but educating them on what it's going to take. And it's kind of difficult because you don't want them to overpay for a property. You don't want them to pay for more than they have to, and you don't know what everybody else is going to do. So we did one maybe like a month ago. We came in second. There were 21 offers. It was on the northwest side of town, just off I-10. We came in second. I asked the listing agent, where were we in the process? Like, what was the defining difference? And he said it was almost completely equal, but they had no option period. The ones that won it did zero option. That's the first time I've ever experienced that. They went straight into pending. They still had an inspection just to make sure the house wasn't, there wasn't something they couldn't see, but they were okay with losing their earnest money if they had to. So in talking with my client, he was like, well, I would have done that because this house is like a 2014, just assuming because it's a new house, it's going to be fine. So, every house is different. Then the next house that we went for that we got was an older home. He probably wouldn't have waived the option period for an inspection. But there's lots of things you can do. And the biggest one that's been helping is to waive the right to terminate due to an appraisal. When I put up a new listing in a certain price point that I know I'm going to have multiple offers, I'm just going to assume that the offer is, that I'm going to get some appraisal waivers or partial waivers. So partial waiver means you'll waive up to a certain point. I'm under contract right now with one. We're priced at $375. It was listed at $365. We went 10,000 over. We're paying for title. We're not doing a home warranty. We do have a lender. We're a conventional loan, which helped. We threw all these things at it, but we did a partial waiver. We discovered that if it at least appraised at the list price, that we could still make up the difference. And so, if it doesn't appraise at 365, then we'll renegotiate. But if it comes in at 366, we're going to make up $9,000. So there's all kinds of tools that you can use. You can also, a lot of people don't think of this, you can offer to pay for the resale docs on the HOA addendum. So typically you pay the transfer fee. You can also check, hey, we'll also pay for the resale docs. You can figure that's going to be between $250 to $500, $600, depending on the price point of the house and the neighborhood. But a lot of people don't think of that. And then one more thing, because I know we're almost out of time, I'd throw, and Christina asked this question the other day. I always write in the email in bold letters all the things that we're doing in the contract that are going to make it attractive to their seller. Because some agents don't really look at the contract as closely as they should, especially when they have multiple offers. If I just throw it into the email, sometimes they even send them a text, hey, I wanted to make sure you got my email. Here's the big points. By the way, we're waiving the right to terminate. We're paying for everything, blah, blah, blah. I put that in there just so they know before they even look at it what the important points are. I find that if I do that and I communicate consistently without being a pain, or are you going to let us come back? I always say, hey, are you going to come back for a best and final? I just stay in communication. I've had an agent tell me that she pushed my offer because all things were kind of equal, but because she knew I communicated. So, I try not to, if they say it's going to be tomorrow at noon, I try not to hound them. But I do try to just really stay in touch, and you use all those tools that he just went over, paying for title policy. On option money, I find that you're going to need to do, if you're doing a short option, it's 5 days. I typically say, hey, are you guys okay with doing at least $25 a day? How about $50 a day? It's $250 you're going to lose if you don't go through it, but they feel pretty confident they're going to go through with it. In Austin, it's $100 a day. I've had several listings. Everyone's giving $100 a day. It's just a more competitive market, or it had been. It's kind of slowing down now. So it all depends on the market, the price point, how many offers. You do as little as you can, but you try to do as much as you can for your client to get the offer. And a lot of it is up to them. How I always say to my clients, are you okay if you lose it? Are you okay? Do you feel like you put your best foot forward? Yes, I think this is all we can do. If you feel like this is all you can do, and going any further, it makes you uncomfortable, then that's cool. I just want to make sure are you okay? Yeah, if somebody wants the house more than this, then we're good. And that makes me feel okay, good. I feel good too. So, then I've had people that have lost a couple that said, I don't want to lose this. I mean, and I'll say, well, maybe we should go 30. Let's go 40. So it all depends on where they are in the process. But all these are great, great, great tools. If there's a survey in the associated docs, I still put we'll pay for the survey if you don't have one. And I typically know if they have one and I don't see anything at the house that's not on the survey. So just use all those tools to kind of help out. And think of the HOA addendum, and also think about the appraisal waiver as other tools.
Yeah, that's great. All of that's great stuff. So I appreciate you chiming in there. So
I had
yeah,
a couple comments. I have used in the past, like what you have, like the title app. I have used that with my clients, like especially buyers, where you show them two different scenarios. You print out from the app itself what their net sheet gonna be, because they're looking for the closing costs. So there was a time, as opposed to paying for title, survey, and everything, we just made a larger offer, which for the seller will still come out with the same net or maybe better. But for the buyer, that difference went into the loan. So it wasn't an out-of-pocket expense.
Yeah.
So you can show them the different scenarios that way.
Yeah.
Then a different situation was a competition, like multiple offer, where people were putting 0 days for option period, but it was in a community where you had an HOA. And one of those bids eventually got out later on because the HOA papers were not delivered on time, because they put like 5 days for HOA papers or 3 days for survey papers. So you gotta be careful, like if you're on the listing end and you receive multiple offers, look for those catches where people can get out without putting an option money up front.
Oh, that's a great point, actually, because I've seen people sneak out of deals for stuff that you just don't catch. That's a really good point.
Yeah. No, those are really good. Thanks for sharing. And again, this is what it's all about. Like, I want you to, most of the time I'm going to lead these, but I really enjoy when, everybody else is chiming in, because there's so much experience. Just like every single lead is unique, every single deal is unique, and it's just like, well, let's look at this one together. Let's work through this, and this is how you put your best foot forward. So thanks for sharing all that.
And let me just add to that, because this call is really unique. This is usually for newer agents, but if you look at who's on this list, there's several people on Cedric's team here that are super experienced, like have done some serious deals. All these people will help you. And some of you are connected to some of these people on this call already because they brought you in. But like Mauro is a great resource. Denise is a great resource. There's several people on here that are really good resources. And you can reach out to any of them anytime. So it's kind of cool because we got some heavyweights on the Zoom today.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, when your offer is accepted, make sure you don't forget these things, right? The earnest money, option money, it's got to be turned in within 3 business days to the title company. All right. And then make sure that you set up the inspection. You have a 3-day option period. You better get that inspection out there real quick. All right. To get that in.
Let me add to that real quick. If I'm making an offer and I know it's going to be a 3-day or 5-day option period, I've already contacted inspectors and I've told them, hey, I've got some people lined up. You pick who you want, and they usually go with that. So I always call the inspector ahead of time and go, hey, what do you have open in the next 3 days or 5 days or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. And then negotiate repairs. All right. Because your job's not necessarily done once it's offer accepted. Now once you do all these 3 things and kind of get through the option period, and I tell the client up front, I'm like, after the option period, obviously I'm going to stay in touch with you and do all that, but it really becomes you and the lender. Like, you're operating with the lender, turning in your documents, Let me know if anything comes up. I'll be communicating, of course, consistently, but as we get closer to closing, then we'll make sure that the repairs are done, make sure that, we're doing a final walkthrough and making sure that everything's been turned in, ready to go. So, yeah, that pretty much completes today's little training. I hope you got something out of it. Is there anything anybody would like to add or ask at this time?
I'd like to add, if you, Tony did a training a couple of weeks ago, if you're new, on just how to work your sphere, stay in touch, and how to generate business. It's a really, really good one. So if you don't have access to this, there's some new people here, access to this Facebook group, Tony, how can they get in touch with you and get on there?
We have to be friends for me to invite you, right? So it's a private group on Facebook. So let's make sure that we connect and become friends on Facebook and in real life. All right. But once we're there, then I can invite you personally to the group. It's called Productive Agents. You might be able to request. Yeah, you can request it. So if you go in there, so maybe we don't even have to be friends on Facebook. I'm kind of new to the Facebook group thing, but Productive Agents, it's what it's called. The logo on the background is EXP Realty logo. So yeah, it's real easy. And like I said, I think we're up to like 20 videos on there. I'm going to sort through them and try to organize them a little bit better. But there's discussion. It's a place to motivate each other, to celebrate each other. Probably not going to go, hey, just listed this, just listed that. It's more geared towards training, motivation, those type of things, and staying in touch that way. So all are welcome. And those of you that are at EXP, I am more than happy. I'm committed to doing this every Thursday, unless something comes up, right? But use this as an attraction tool. If you know an agent that's like on your level, or maybe you're talking to them about EXP or whatever, invite them to the training, see if they get value out of this. Hopefully you got some value out of this as well. You go, hey, you should check out this training. And then sometimes Mark leads the training. Alan's led a training before. Cedric's going to lead one of these real soon as well. So we're here to share, all right, and support and grow together. So thanks for being here.